No sound, Harold.
Alrighty, welcome to episode 178 of TOCWA's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. In fact, it's actually been a pretty busy month, but since I just got back from holidays, here are some of the most important bits of local news. Western Australia's WAEV network has further progressed with Synergy's 150 kilowatt, 75 kilowatt dual Kempower fast DC charger site at Bunbury now commissioned and open to all EVs to use. Western Australia's WAEV network has further progressed with Synergy's 150 kilowatt Kempower fast DC charger site at Kojonup now commissioned and open to all EVs to use. Western Australia's WAEV network has further progressed with Horizon Power's 50 kilowatt off-grid tritium fast DC charger site at Pardue now commissioned and open to all EVs to use. This brings the total number of stations currently active to 31 out of the final project plan of 49 sites. The French renewable energy company Neoen has announced a second stage of its huge battery project in Collie. The new 341 megawatt, 1.363 gigawatt hour second stage will boost the project size to a total of 560 megawatts, 2.24 gigawatt hours. This will enable it to absorb and subsequently supply 20% of the entire Southwest interconnected system for a period of 4 hours for each phase. Following Elon Musk's requested dissolution of Tesla's entire worldwide supercharger team, the planned 6-stall supercharger site at Kings Park has ceased all installation activity for an indefinite period. At this stage, it's unknown if or when this site may ever be completed. The WA state government has announced an expansion of its $3,500 EV rebate. Originally, the rebate was capped to 10,000 applications received prior to the 11th of May 2025. The scheme has now been expanded such that, quote, all applications will be accepted until midnight on Saturday, the 10th of May, 2025. And that was this week's, well, month's news. Indeed it was, and a slight faltering start. But we got there in the end. So welcome, everyone. As is customary, and I can't even remember because it's been so long, I usually do invite anyone who is new and is comfortable in doing so to please unmute and introduce yourselves.
I've got my mum.
Hello.
Hi, Richard's mum. Welcome.
I just realised, we just realised actually, she did join us for a quick cameo when we were in Paris last year. So she's now in the flesh.
Me too. In that case, welcome back. Alrighty, we got any other new people that would like to say hello? Perhaps a little bit. Oh,
Right, I'll go. This is Prashant. Hi.
Prashant.
I'm still waiting for my car, but was eagerly waiting for all the information you guys share on the Facebook group as well as on the webpage. So it has been pretty informative for me just to be equipped just before getting the car.
Excellent. What car are you going to order, Prashant?
So I've ordered Model Y rear-wheel drive. Just a rear-wheel drive one.
Fantastic.
The color is stealth gray.
Oh, very nice. That is a great color. That is a very good color. And do you know when you might be getting your car? Have you got a delivery date yet or an estimated date?
Yeah, it's been hovering around 8. That's from today to 29th. But we believe that I just got the messages or the email from Tesla that the car is in Australia and maybe in next couple of weeks we should be getting the delivery date.
So your original date was the 8th of May?
No, the estimated the EDD was between 8 to 29, so it's still on target.
Yeah. Sorry, of June or May?
No, May.
Oh yeah, cool. Well, I can tell you that I actually saw the ship that it's on. It's at the North Quay at Fremantle. Frustratingly, there's actually a very large shed that's next to that key, which means that the cars would be unloaded. I think it was the Morning Crystal and goes probably straight into the shed. So I did take my drone up there earlier today, but yeah, there's nothing to see, unfortunately. But it's good news because cars will start getting to Tesla in the next couple of days, and they'll start delivering probably a couple of days after that. So hopefully
Yeah.
very soon you'll get a text
Yeah.
which will invite you to click on the link to book
Schedule
your
a date,
delivery. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's awesome news, Prashant. And look, you're going to love your car, and any amount of time that you've waited for it is just going to melt away as soon as you get it.
Yeah, it's not been that too long like I was expecting, just because as soon as I booked, even though like the estimated date was somewhere sitting in March and April, I think one of the guys from the Tesla, like the showroom, he did mention that don't expect anything before May. So I was not having any kind of like expectations that, oh, I need to get it by March or by April. So yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Excellent. Awesome.
And
Well, congratulations
Harold-
again.
Thank
Harold
you.
Craig is also new as well.
Hey,
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us about your car.
Well, I've been loitering in the background once or twice because I've had the car for 11 months, done 17,306 kilometers in it. It's a white Pavo Pack Model 3. Bought it on a lease from work, so it was very tax effective. And when the FBT rebate came in and the WA rebate became very affordable, so yeah, did that, and makes perfect sense because we've just moved into our home in February. We live down in Witchcliffe in the Eco Village. Not sure if you guys are aware of that, but we've actually got so I've got an EV charger in my carport, a Tesla charger, and also we've got currently 3 chargers actually in the Eco Village, and we're 100% on solar power, and we've got actually a Tesla 232 kilowatt shared battery between 20 homes in my little strata, and so excess solar power goes into that, and then we've got EV charger, and we've currently got 3 in the Eco Village. So one's about 50 meters from my house, and it's 100% renewable energy coming from panels on my roof, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting build though. When I saw that, they put some Tritium RT50s through the village, didn't they?
They did, and apparently there's issues with them, so I'm not sure what will happen in the long term with ChargeFox. But anyway, that company's a very promising Australian company, seems to have gone south for some reason. But anyway, for the time being, it's working pretty well, and the goal there is to obviously get people traveling from Perth who come down to the Eco Village and have a look around and see if we're actually a cult or not, and check out what's happening, and yeah, charge their EVs while they're here. So that's the whole idea.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Although, unfortunately, with the problem with Tritium, I presume you'll be charging your cars slowly for the time being. And actually, to be brutally honest, you'll probably be charging your cars slowly until you replace those units with another brand, which is very disappointing.
Mm.
And that's a piece of news. I think that occurred while I was away, actually. So basically, Tritium is all but gone. I think the receivers are seeking purchases, and I wouldn't even pay $1 because I wouldn't want to take up any of the risk that was associated with all the equipment. I think anyone that owns a Tritium is not going to have any warranty claim whatsoever, and you can sue them all you like, but you're going to be suing a bankrupt entity.
Yeah, because like for my project with Wowga, that was one of the things for the local governments was the fast charges of that.
Yeah,
I sort of
I
set up
imagine
in the background to switch to a different brand, and so yeah, when the shit hit the fan, I'd already had worked it out. So yeah, it was very interesting that couple of days when that hit.
very disappointing.
And yeah, you're right. Then they're not doing any warranty or maintenance or any software support.
No,
actually let us know. So I was like, good on you.
So I fear for the Horizon Power portion of the WAEV network, because unfortunately they are tritium, the newer RTMs.
Yep.
And let's just see what happens. Now, as far as seeing what happens goes, I did mention in the news that very sadly, the upcoming Kings Park 6-stall supercharger site, its further progression is in severe doubt for the time being. And to be perfectly frank, Elon Musk really has actually sacked basically everyone in the worldwide supercharger team. I personally know of I know 3 people in the team in Australia, and I already know 2 of them have got the sack. And I dare say the other one I haven't heard of it yet. So Elon Musk is an amazing leader of Tesla, but you've sometimes, in my personal opinion, got to question drastic moves like this. Anyway, putting that aside,
hopefully they hire him back, and
hopefully in some time later, if he hasn't been snapped up by Fortescue Future Industries or something like that.
Elon did mention about any gaps or something would be serviced and stuff like that, you know, like new rollouts. And I'm like, oh, well, that's easy. We can show most of WA. So hopefully,
the problem is Elon did tweet that it's okay, we're going to complete all the outstanding projects. Well, that's not true, because, you know, we've heard reports in New York where a rival charging company is going to snap up the 4 juicy sites that Tesla's already earmarked and done all the planning on. So unfortunately, that's suboptimal. One thing that is actually really good news, just to highlight, it was a bit confusing, and it wasn't until I actually looked at the ZEF refund page that the state government has done, and I don't even know if this is going to work. Screen share. That worked well. Let's try it again. That one. Share. Okay, I hope you can see that. Yep. The main thing to highlight is the application cap has been removed. So there's no cap anymore. You can buy as many EVs in WA as you like, and all applications will be accepted until midnight on Saturday, the 10th of May, 2025, which is the same end date that there originally was, except there was a cap. Now, there was a figure of $5.2 million mentioned. I believe that is just their estimate on the approximately 1,400 more cars they would probably have to rebate by the cutoff date. But go on, go Paul.
Oh, sorry. That I was going to ask a question about that. So I've missed the boat on this. I got mine in my Model Y in September 22. So are you saying there's scope to apply for that rebate?
Only if you buy a new vehicle.
Yeah, it was a new vehicle.
No, only if you buy a new vehicle from when the rebate started.
Okay.
So like it was never slated as being retrospective. So you had to have purchased the vehicle, or actually, if it was it doesn't matter if it was a dealer vehicle, but you had to be purchased at the commencement or after the commencement of the scheme.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, unfortunately,
clearly after September 22, then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was only announced a year ago or so, or not even.
That's fine. That's fine.
In 2022. Yep. June 20.
June 22.
So it says, since the announcement of the ZEV rebate in 2022, sales of electric vehicles in WA have grown significantly, with an almost 4-fold increase in sales since June 2022. So since they're referencing June 2022 in that statistic, I'm assuming it's valid from that date. I too can't remember when it came into effect, but I'm trying to find that.
The key point
Does anybody
here
have
is,
the link? Does anybody have the link?
Just posted it.
Thank you.
So Paul, the key note the key thing to note here is, was the dutiable value? Sorry, what car did you buy? A Model
Y. Just a rear rear wheel or
Yeah.
rear drive.
Yeah, it complies.
motor.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm
Because
almost
one of the
certain-
first lot were over.
What color was it?
Blue.
And did you have wheels?
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't qualify.
Different wheels than the standard?
Yeah.
No, you won't qualify, unfortunately. When you look at your invoice,
Yeah.
if you look at the subtotal price, I think it's the price including GST. If that is $1 over $70,000, it will not qualify.
Yes.
And
That
yours
was me.
Because I was going to say, Harold, remember, because he sounds like he got ours at the same time as like we did. Remember, the first lot was like a few $100s over.
Yeah.
So we all missed out.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I would say you didn't qualify.
So don't worry, Paul. You haven't actually missed out on anything because you already missed out on it, if you know what I mean. Like you weren't going to qualify. So
I'm not.
yeah.
No. That's fine. I'm not stressing about it. I just thought, yeah.
So happily,
Just those listening YouTube, so that we've got the date. I found it here. So for a vehicle to qualify, it has to have been licensed in WA on or after Tuesday, the 10th of May, 2022.
Right.
And maximum durable value of 70 grand, etc. But yeah, it's on or after the 10th of May, 2022 is the cut-off date by the looks of things.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's great, guys. Thanks for looking into that. It's good. Yeah.
Main point is it's now uncapped. So if by some further initiative, there is a flurry of imports far in excess of the 10,000 previous cap, they will all be rebated.
Yeah.
So so now you don't have to worry so much about getting in before the 10,000 cap. Just make sure you have purchased and registered a new car, let's call it from today, or if you've just recently got one, there's no rush now to put in your applications as long as they are in before the end of the 10th of May. Let's call it Sunday, no later than Saturday night on the 10th of May next year.
Yeah, no worries.
Alrighty.
Thanks for that.
No problems. Has anyone got any general questions or comments, especially for the benefit of people watching on YouTube and once again, or Twitter, sorry, X. Once again, apologies that there haven't been any recordings, but we have actually held the meetings courtesy of Pete and others. So any questions or comments?
Harold, I've got a very, very basic one.
Yes, Martin.
Good to see you, Martin.
My wife's new Model 3, I took it yesterday to pump up the tyres, and I went to 2 service stations, and the nozzle on the filler wouldn't fit into these new wheels. I got the upgraded wheels. They've got hard bits of plastic in between them, and I couldn't remove it. And I didn't want to force it. I can probably show you a photograph here of what I mean.
Yeah, cool. Is this the Highland, Martin?
Yeah, on the new 3, there's little plastic spaces between the metal rims, which go around the valve.
Yep.
And I've actually managed to make them work without having to take them off, but you can take them off.
With a bit of brute force, or is there a technique?
No, just pull them out.
It's brute force, Martin. So they've got clips. So you just got to grab one of the spokes, I guess you could call it, and give it a decent tug. And what I've found, I'm sure the Highland ones are the same, but very similar. Don't just pull on one spoke and try and pull it all off. I mean, it's possible, but you could actually break it. Just go around to each spoke and unclip each one. And eventually after about 2 or 3 clips, the whole lot will come off quite easily.
Yeah, but it's not the whole wheel cover, is it, Martin? You're talking about little plastic pieces.
No,
they're only about kind of this big between the spokes.
Yeah. They're just little plastic.
They all have separate. Yeah, they're in sections. There's 2 things you can do, Martin. So as Ken has mentioned, it is a bit of fiddling around, but if you can get the hose in sort of behind the where the valve is, you can sort of force it in and you can make it work. The other option is to pull out just that bit. Obviously, as Ken has said, there's all the separate bits all around the wheel, so you only need to pull out the one around the valve. And like Harold has said, it's quite a bit of force, but yeah, you just pull it out. If you break it or if you damage it, it's just that one piece that you'll have to replace. It's not the whole thing. But there is a third option, and you can, with those valves, I've seen on Facebook people getting valve extensions, and you only put them in for when you need to pump up the tyres. So that seemed like a fairly elegant solution. So you can keep one of those in the glove box for when you need to pump up the tyres.
Yeah, I thought that's probably the best idea. Yeah, but it's just ridiculous that they haven't made the hole big enough to fit a standard fitting.
It is. It's a bit silly.
Thank you very much for that. Good.
No worries. And yeah, great to see you again, Martin. For anyone that's curious, Martin was our inaugural treasurer for TOCWA and gave us a lot of years of awesome service. And
have we still got any money in the bank, Harold?
No, I put it on some EV company called, is it Fisker? I think it was Fisker, and I think the price just, no, sorry, Martin, it's all gone.
I thought you invested all in Tritium, Harold.
Oh, well, I had an option on Tritium, but yeah.
Harold's given Tritium enough money already.
That's true.
But it's too soon, Ken. It's just too soon.
I've been up in Geraldton. I drove past it the other day. It's still just sitting there.
I know. I've got to, amongst other things, I've got to go and rescue it. Anyway, well, actually, since Tritium is basically now going broke, my biggest fear is if I actually put it anywhere else, it's just going to break again. And yeah. Anyway,
let's move on to more.
It was great while it lasted. Exactly. Oh, actually, now here's a subject. I don't know how to put this, but it's only as more of a public service announcement. And I'm not saying this is going to happen on anyone's car, so please don't think that. But if at any time your rear camera on a non-ultrasonic fitted car, so that's basically all of the Highland, let's call it the refreshed Model 3s, with the new front, the new look. Any of those and the newer Model Ys that are coming out, I think very soon with hardware 4, they will also not have ultrasonic sensors. My kid, while I was on holidays, picked up his car from Tesla on a Wednesday, and on a Saturday he drove a TWA and was backing it towards the Tritium charger at the WA Uni Club. At the same time, his rear camera failed. Unfortunately, it did not start screaming at him to say, hey, by the way, I've got no rear vision and therefore no rear object detection. So he then proceeded to very gently tap the two bollards because you couldn't see them in the side mirrors because they're narrower than the car. Anyway, that was 3 or 4 days after he got the car. Sadly for him, he took it to Tesla service and someone dinged his passenger door. So his car's now rather secondhand. And of course, while the car's in service mode, it doesn't record Sentry mode. Anyway, Tesla is going to thankfully fix the ding, but not the boot. Now, the point of that is, if you're reversing, please just, I mean, I usually just reverse by looking at the screen the whole time, but if you're doing it the traditional way, just have a little glance every now and then just to make sure that the camera is still on. Perhaps later in a subsequent software update, Tesla might do something like have a warning tone if the camera is blinded for whatever reason, because you obviously don't have ultrasonic sensors. But anyway, that's just one person's experience. Hopefully no one else will go through that.
What a bummer.
Harold, speaking of public service announcements, I know on our Facebook page, a lot of people have been asking about the latest software update that gives the full screen visualization. So we do know that it's primarily been rolled out to cars with the AMD Ryzen chip so far, which were basically sort of late 22 onwards. But if you want to know what chip is in your car, you can just go into the screen and just have a look. Just go into settings and software, I think it is, and then there's a blue centers there. I think it says car info or something like that, and you press on that, and yeah, it will show you what chip you have. So if you have a AMD Ryzen chip, you're definitely getting it. There has been a lot of people with older cars that were wondering whether they would get it. Our TOCA member, Damon or Damo, who's stalking at the moment because he's at work, he's contacted Tesla and he's given me the permission to read out what they've, the good news that they've given him, which is, now mind you, this is specific to Damo's car, which is a 10th of October 2021 build and delivered on the 9th of December 2021. His was a Model 3 performance. So it says, we've confirmed there are no concerns that would put this vehicle on a rollout exclusion. So at this stage, once the firmware is made available to your vehicle, it should download it as, and it's in several screenshots, so I've got to go to the next one. Should download it as normal. 2024.14 is currently on wave 2 for 3 and Y models with the Intel processor. So his car and all the pre-AMD Ryzen chips will have the Intel Atom chip. So one of my cars has that, and I've done the update, but it would only update to 2024.8. So I only just had some bug fixes. But I had some hope. I said to Damo, I said, look, it's only gone to 0.8, so it doesn't mean that it might not get to 0.14 at some stage in the future. And Tesla is confirming it, at least as far as his car is concerned, that there's roughly about 250 vehicles worldwide currently running it already. Almost all are Tesla's fleet vehicles, though. So, yeah, so, and they're comparing that to the Ryzen processor. Let me just go into the next screenshot. Sorry. So relatively speaking to all other Intel 3 and Y vehicles, vehicle is pretty well aligned. And next screenshot. Pretty well aligned. At this stage, as there's no repair to be made, we'll close out this service visit. So, yeah, so it sounds like it's going to come. It will just come in the second wave. We're not sure. I mean, that doesn't specify what features of the latest update it will have, whether it will be the full screen visualization, whether the Intel processor is fast enough for all that, or whether it will just have some of the features in the latest update. But I guess time will tell.
The implication from a tweet from Greeny Only is that it will miss, the Intel ones will miss out on the full screen visualization, but they will get most of the other featers.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And as cool as the new visualization is, and I've only literally seen it for a couple of days. I mean, it's great. It's actually very distracting, by the way, admittedly. But because I keep looking at it and saying, oh, look, I can see that pedestrian 6 lanes away on the other side of the road. As awesome as it is, it's a new feature for new cars. And every Tesla that you buy is today, on the day you buy it, is a very zenith of that model, of that whole class of cars. And it goes without saying that Tesla continually improves. So while it is sort of, I wouldn't even call it frustrating. I guess it's sort of like, well, you're disappointed that you're not going to get the latest, greatest software update features or all of them. The fact was, when you bought your car a few years ago, it was vastly superior than, say, a Tesla of 7 or 8 years ago. So,
or 7 or 8 months ago.
Or 7 or 8 months ago. So I guess the thing, my advice for Damo, and I mean, I know Damo loves his performance cars, and he won't mind admitting it. He used to be a petrol head, and now he's just an e-head. And that's probably not going to sound very good, but anyway, he loves the performance of his performance Model 3. And my challenge to you, Damo, is the Highland, even though Tesla hates everyone saying that, the Highland performance is off this planet. It is so good. Everyone that's reviewed it, the professional journalists that know their stuff, just say this is Tesla's best car. Damo, go and buy it and enjoy the new power, the 0 to 100 in 3.1 seconds, and the shiny new awesome touchscreen. And
the great seats, the great new suspension, the screen in the back, the new wheels, a lot of good stuff in there.
And in fact, I already have heard of one of our members who who has a Model 3. I think his wife has a Model Y, and he literally couldn't help himself and purchased a Highland because life is too short and he enjoys his cars. So I guess there's going to be another second-hand Model 3 pre-Highland on the market. That's a good thing. So
the other thing to mention also for those listening in YouTube land, the fact that we're getting these updates is really a privilege. It's not a guarantee. I mean, nowhere is it written that we've got the rights to all future updates for free. Tesla, I don't know any other automaker that does this on such a scale. I know for a fact there is no other automaker that changes the performance characteristics of the car. So my car got an extra 5% more power and 5 kilometers more range a couple of years ago. I don't think, as far as I know, there isn't any other automaker that can physically even do that, let alone give it to their clients free of charge. So most other cars, the best they'll ever be is the day they come off the dealership lot. The worst any of my Teslas have ever been was the day I took delivery. They've only been getting better ever since. And I've probably approaching about 100 new features that my oldest Teslas have that they didn't have when I bought them. So I'm thankful for each one of them, but it's not, it's not an entitlement. That's the way I see it. So every new free over-the-air update that comes, I see as a bonus rather than a entitlement.
Absolutely. All righty. Now I'm just trying to think. Obviously, we had Tesla's earnings call, and I do distinctly remember before that happened, there were people saying, "Oh, we hope that an adult in the room will be hosting it," and they were all worried about what the sentiment was going to be. If you recall correctly, a long time ago, Reuters had an article that basically said that Tesla was going to cancel the robo-taxi Model 2 and that whole program, and it was all doom and gloom. And I think quite pleasantly, we're all quite pleasantly surprised that Elon was highly engaged in that call and very bullish about Tesla, and explained actually that what they're going to do is bring forward the robo-taxi program and also the Model 2 program, and that rather than going to the I think it was the unboxed system, where they were going to take the high risk of building the car in probably about 4 segments and then basically bolting them together, that Tesla was going to do an amalgam of those 2 systems, and that the robo-taxi could actually be produced on the same lines that produce the Model 3 and Y. And what that also means is that the Model 3s and Ys will also gain a lot of those benefits that they're going to develop with the new platform. So it was actually very bullish for Tesla. And, we only have to look as far back as only a couple of days ago, where if you look at the Optimus program, which is the autonomous robot, I mean, its progress has just been astonishing. And now it can, albeit slowly, autonomously sort battery cells into trays. And I know that sounds a really trivial thing to do, but believe it or not, there are a lot of human beings engaged full time to do that day in, day out. And if you can get a robot that costs any money, doesn't actually matter, to do that 24/7, 160 hours a week instead of 40, you are making some serious money. And, you know, that is one of the longer term goals at Tesla, is autonomy, which is increasingly being solved. Not that any of us can see it in Australia yet. And energy storage and the Optimus robot. And I guess what that sort of says is that, you know, it's right for many of us to be bullish on Tesla. And I guess on that note, I should really reprise the disclaimer that Peter Petrosky himself helped write, and it goes something like this.
All views expressed are solely personal opinions, which you should not treat as personal advice, general advice, legal advice, tax advice, insurance advice, financial or investment advice, or advice of any other type.
You should not treat any contents as a solicitation, inducement, or recommendation to undertake any investment, to buy or sell any security, investment product or service, to follow any investment or trading strategy, or to enter, not enter, break or avoid any contract or insurance policy. Any comments are solely the expression of personal opinion and should be treated as such. All contents are for entertainment, educational and informational purposes only. All information provided and all comments made are general in nature and should not be acted upon without any professional guidance tailored to your individual circumstances.
I'm never going to live down in my health.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Oh, me too.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we'll have a
Two sugar
coffee.
thanks.
Mine's cold.
1, 2.
So, Steve, I do promise to do the, as you suggested, the scrolling, would you call it, titles, or the whole script will be scrolling up the page when I get around to it. Alrighty, so yeah, you know, we can still rightly be bullish on Tesla, and that's not just as investors, that's as owners of the product. Tesla never ceases to innovate, and there's going to be some pretty exciting products coming around. You know, perhaps early next year or sometime next year, we're going to get a revised Model Y, refreshed Model Y, similar to the Highland Model 3. And in a few years, we'll get possibly a Model 2. And the thing that excites me the most, oh, and this is also an important note to make.
Sorry.
Because, of course, while I was away, the Cybertruck came to Australia, and it's on tour. Now, be very clear, we don't know if it's coming to Western Australia, and I mean that sincerely. But in the original announcement and timetable that described the different places in New South Wales where the Cybertruck would be visiting, that statement also did say that the Cybertruck will be traveling around Australia, I think it said, literally, around Australia and New Zealand. So I personally think it's highly likely that it will come here. As a club, we will make representations to Tesla to see if they're prepared to clarify that it will come to Western Australia, so that at least if it does or doesn't, we'll be able to let everyone know that you either do or don't book flights to some place in the eastern states. So I think that's important that as a club we try and clarify that, if at all possible. But I personally think it makes a lot of sense to come to Perth.
Here.
Yeah.
I did hit up one of the Tesla people in LinkedIn, and she did confirm it was coming to Perth. But now I don't know if she's still got a job.
Yes, I see. So they did a search on LinkedIn. Private messages to Paul Viana. Sorry, you're sacked.
Yeah.
Good job, Paul.
I know.
Harold, I've got a couple of mundane questions again.
Yes, Martin.
No, I've just forgotten.
That's all right.
One of them was to do with the charging rates. Buying a second-hand Tesla. Is there any information around as to how you check the health of the battery?
Yes, there is. So you can go, I think this applies to even the oldest models. Ken, I don't know, you've still got your car, whether you've looked at it, but I believe you can go into service mode. So what you do is you press and hold. So 2 seconds, Pete. So if you go into your software screen where you see an image of the car, you press and hold on the name of the car. So it'll either be a Model 3, Model Y, Model S, Model X. You press and hold. There'll then be a little text box where you have to put in a code. And if you put in the code service with a lowercase s, so SERVICE, enter, you'll then enter service mode. Actually, before it enters service mode, it'll ask you a question. Is it okay to open a portal or something like that to the mothership? And you say yes, and you'll enter service mode. Now, there is a section of service mode. Feel free, everyone, to cruise around and look, but please don't touch if you don't know what you're doing. So if you see anything that says recalibrate or purge something or refill something, don't touch those buttons. That's really intended for mechanics, and it's part of Tesla's right to reply obligations. But there is a section under the battery that you can actually do. You can run like a battery capacity test or health test. What it needs, I think it says your battery has to be below a certain level.
Below 50.
I think, yeah, because what it actually does, as your car sits doing nothing, and this can take quite a while, what you've got to do is you've got to plug it into a charger. So preferably a higher power charger, in other words, a wall connector that can get either 7 or 11 kilowatts.
Yeah,
So then just to finish this point, Martin, just in case anyone else wants to do this, then what you do is it will discharge your battery using various innovative methods, like it runs various, I think it actually wastes energy. So if there's an internal heater, it will use it. It'll also expend energy in the motors while it's not moving. It'll discharge the battery down to quite a low state, and then it will carefully charge it back up and check all the parameters and give you a battery health metric. If you wanted to do that, Martin.
I'm more thinking about a guy down the street wants to sell his Tesla. I can't do all that stuff. Just at face value, if I turn up at a motor dealership or a neighbour, I guess the thing is that if you have going to buy a petrol car and it's got 300,000 kilometres on the clock, you link that to say, well, there's a lot of wear and tear on this engine, and I'm just wondering if there's any way that normal people who would just rock up to a car
there is smart.
I mean, what I
so
normally
you can look at
just say the percentages. Where is the percentage charged up to on the screen, and just do a calculation. 100%.
You want to know. You want to know 3 lots of data, which you can readily get from the car screen, and 2 of them you can get from the app. So at any one time, you want to know the percentage and the kilometres left. And then you want to have a look at the lifetime efficiency. So hopefully they haven't reset one of the trip meters. And if the odometer reading is similar to one of the trip meter readings, then you know you've got a lifetime efficiency.
Yeah, good. Yep, good
way. Watt hours. Yeah, per kilometre. And that will give you an idea of how, and then you can have a look at recent trips as well, and give you an idea of how accurate just taking the percentage, taking the kilometre figure and dividing it by the percentage and see what that gives you. And then you can use that as a percentage of what the car should have had when it was new. And that's a very rough rule of thumb approximation of the battery health. But it's pretty good, but nothing beats doing the actual health test, but the health test can take, up to 24 hours. So during which time you can't really drive the car. So, yeah.
Okay. The other question.
Just quickly, I can confirm the health test works on all the Model 3s and all the Model Ys sold in Australia. So going right back to the 2019 models, it works on those as well.
Is there any implication for Tesla turning off 3G?
Yes, there is. I believe that the MC. Okay, so if we're talking about Models 3s and Ys, don't worry, they've got 4G.
Talking about Model S 215 model.
Okay, so if that has the new MCU, so the new centered touchscreen, then 3G is not an issue because that's got at least a 4G modem in it.
It's got an LTE modem in it. Yep.
LTE, yeah. So that's at least 4 or whatever G. So that's not a problem, Martin, at all.
And just on that, Telstra have just announced they're extending the cutoff date for 3G because there's too many people with gear that are still using it because they've done a survey. But yeah, the only Teslas that are affected in Australia will be pre-2018 Model S and X that haven't had an MCU2 upgrade, basically.
Right.
But even some of those cars, you can upgrade to MCU2. So
yes, you can. You can upgrade to MCU2, and the problem is solved.
And I think that the price now has gone down to approximately $1,200. I think.
Good
but even if it's $2,000, it's still a very viable option if that was an issue, Martin. But you could, of course, always at any time, even if you decided not to upgrade the touchscreen, you could still tether the car to your phone via Wi-Fi. So you'll always have communications into your car via Wi-Fi from your mobile if you militantly didn't want to upgrade the computer for a couple of $1,000 maximum.
Yeah, no, I've already upgraded, so it's fine.
Yes, yeah. But so if it was you that was selling the car and you wanted to give someone peace of mind to say that your car was healthy, then I would definitely run the battery health test, provided it does do that function. You just have to have a look, Martin. I just don't know. Actually, Richard Chapman, are you in the room? You are. Can you please go and look at my awesome X, which is now yours?
Yes.
And very happily so. If you can please try and put into service mode and see if there is a battery health option, because my Model X was a 2016 model, and that's a fairly representative old car.
If I recall, it wouldn't go into service mode when I tried it before, unless something's changed. But I'll give it a go.
Well, while you're doing that, so yes, Martin, we could definitely give that a go. And then what you could do is just take screenshots, just take photos of what the screen says, so that if you had a prospective buyer, you could say, "Look, I've actually done this test, and this is what it says."
But I think I'm more suggesting that as more electric vehicles come on the market and we get specialized dealers, that there's got to be some way that they must be able to advertise the reliability or the whatever capacity of the battery.
Yep.
I mean, it's just totally missing from there's a car dealer in Perth that I sold my Model 3 to, and just wasn't aware of how you would gauge the battery.
Yes, and I dare say the RAC wouldn't know either. If you had the RAC do a mechanical check, they again wouldn't know what to do with the battery pack. So you did right. It's actually it's going to increasingly become an important issue that ought to be addressed and be addressable.
In the US, there's a company by the name of Recurrent, so RE and Current, CURRENT, and this is exactly what they do. They do pre-purchase reports where they run the health tests, and they've got other methods and other metrics that they've all put into a report for you. But unfortunately, they're not in Australia as yet, but I'm sure they'll come in time.
Right.
Absolutely. Richard, have you managed to get any joy?
I've never actually tried it before, but oh, hang on, let me turn my blur off. How do I do that?
Just be careful that you're not showing off the VIN or anything, any personal information. But just in general, yeah, that's fine. I actually remember it off the top of my heart, well, at least the number bit. But anyway,
you still protect your
Okay, so here we go. So if you look at battery, it should be on one of the menus in the upper left. It should be battery.
High voltage.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, high voltage. That's it.
Yep.
Be battery.
Are there any sub menus? That's just showing a state of charge. So just flip the phone up a little bit more, please. Yeah, that's it. So in the high voltage, there's nothing, no other menus? No, there isn't, is there?
No, hang on. There's an info thing. Oh no. Tap on HV battery. Okay. Hang on. Let me go to this. No, it's just low voltage about the seats. Thermal. Suspension. No,
it looks like you don't have a health thing. Okay. Look, Martin, there is another thing that can be done. You can temporarily fit a dongle to the car, and actually in the Model S's and X's, that's not that hard to do. I'm trying to think how you do it. There is a port near where you've got Richard, what's it that
it's underneath the MCU. If you pop down the little shelf that's underneath the MCU, the OBD port is under there.
And you just need an adapter that adapts it from the OBD connector, or I think it's an Ethernet connector, or whatever it is. It's a special connector to a dongle. And well, this is on the RAC should have. And then once you can talk to the CAN bus, you can use something like an app called Scan My Tesla, and it will actually go through all of the detailed statistics of the battery. But look, the other thing too is, if you're familiar with Teslas, if you got any idea of what the initial stated range was. So for example, on Richard's car, my X, I remember when it was 90%, it would get 354 kilometers. So if you just look at, you can usually do this with your app. When you move the slider, the battery slider, and you set kilometers, if you move it to 90%, it'll say how many kilometers it expects that to be.
We get 308 now, is what it comes up at as 90%.
And that's close to what I was actually getting before I sold it to you, Richard. So it looks like it hasn't really degraded anything more since then. So
I mean, we don't use, I mean, we use it all the time, but not as much as you did.
Yeah. So if you basically get 300, if you get 308 divided by 354 as a rough figure of merit, that's basically 87%. So at a rough approximation, it means that Richard's car now has 87% of its initial capacity, which is actually quite.
What's that per annum?
No, it's not an annum. So
no. What is it per annum per year?
I don't know. So for example,
but it's not linear.
It's not linear.
No.
So Richard's car, when I sold it to him, had done approximately 220,000 kilometers. Now that alone is 14 and a half years of effective use for a normal person, a normal driver in Perth, doing 15,000 kilometers per year. So I had pre-used that car the equivalent of 14 and a half years.
But that equation isn't linear as well, because the battery does lose health even if not driven, just by sitting around. So yeah.
But basically, Richard's car has got approximately 87% of the capacity it used to have. I guarantee you, for a car that's done approximately 250,000 kilometers, if that was a petrol car, it would have significantly worse fuel efficiency than 87% from when it was new.
And wear and tear,
And wear and tear, yeah.
Performance as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So, but couldn't agree with you more, Martin. I believe that's an unmet need as people increasingly buy secondhand EVs. And you really want to know, have I got one that for some weird reason someone has militantly charged it to 100% in the old chemistry, or for the long range cars that shouldn't happen to, and that can damage the batteries. But yeah, thankfully, even the cars built back in 2016 or even 2015. Look, I think Rob Dean's car, it's no secret he's done well over 330,000 kilometers, and that car is going really strong. The only reason why he doesn't drive it as much is he's got a shiny new Model Y, and yeah, I'd be driving the Model Y over the S any day. Being a
so with the Highland, you can charge to 100% without any degradation.
No, you can charge the battery, Martin. So like all the Model Ys and the Model 3s, the standard range that was built after about halfway through 21, was it? Do you remember, Harold? That they got the lithium. The way you know basically is you have a look at your rate indicator, and if it has a connotation that says daily and trip, then you know it's the old NCA chemistry, which you're only supposed to nickel, cobalt, aluminium, which you're only supposed to charge to 80%. If it doesn't have any of that, then you know it's an LFP battery that you can charge to 100%. But all the current Model Ys and all the current and Model 3s going back to about 2021, all the standard range and the rear-wheel drives have the old LFP lithium phosphate ion chemistry, which you can charge to 100% all day, every day.
Absolutely.
Oh, right. Good.
Shane Parker had his hand up, by the way.
Sorry, Shane. But now he's disappeared in frustration, and I don't blame him. And he did take it personally. Oh, he might be back. He might have just. Oh no, he's there. He is.
I just popped out. No, I was just going to throw in a comment about the battery degradation. My car, after 90,000 Ks or thereabouts, had actually the sexy buttons said I had 7.44% degradation before I left on that trip. We did 17,000 Ks towing the caravan, and when I got back, it said it had 7.44% degradation. So it's the first 5% dropped off real quick, like over the first 50,000, 60,000 Ks, and then after that, it's just slowed right down to almost nothing.
And my Model
Y curve looks like that. It starts to level off after about, like I said, after about 100,000 kilometers. It's a negligible amount every year, which you'll never notice.
Yeah. So my car in 11 months has done. Sorry about that. My car in 11 months has done 97,500 Ks, and it's lost about 6%. And I think that's going to be most of the degradation it's going to get for quite a while. And
stick it on percentage and get over it.
Exactly. And well, actually, just leave it on kilometers because it's fine. Because the awesome thing is, as we've already seen demonstrated, the WLEV network is now rapidly expanding. Basically, off the top of my head, you can drive to Karratha. Actually, you can drive to Port Hedland from Perth with an unbroken 200-kilometer approximate interval. Maybe let's call it less than 300-kilometer interval between all of those fast DC chargers between Perth and if you wanted to go to Port Hedland, for example. And that is it's about an 1,800-kilometer trip. And you've got an unbroken string of WLEV network chargers.
Perhaps even Pardue.
Yes. So, yeah, and look, Pardue is a great story. Pardue was, as we all know, was very sadly smashed by, I forget the cyclone's name, but it was a very severe cyclone. The roadhouse was basically destroyed, and now there is a 50 kilowatt off-grid tritium fast DC charger. Currently, as we speak, not that many people here watching will need to worry about it, but it's currently putting out 40 kilowatts because I've got a couple of power issues, but that will be addressed. And there one charger I didn't mention that we do know is working, but it's not on ChargeFox yet, is the Fitzroy Crossing charger. So that's another one. There are also other WAEV network chargers coming online in the next month or two. So there's going to be some further good news about some of those. Bearing in mind the Nullarbor ones are still not due to be installed until the next financial year. So let's call that Q3, maybe September or October or something like that. But everything else, this is according to John Edwards, that he's been told, because he's undertaking shortly, I think it's in the end of June, I think, he will be undertaking Australia's first circumnavigation of Australia, well, circumnavigation in an electric truck. And that's the Hyundai Mighty EV. And he's been assured by Horizon Power that basically most of the charges going all the way to Kununurra from Horizon Power's network will be completed by June, which that would be pretty awesome if that happens. So range really, getting back to Martin's point, range really matters less. It's as long as you can travel 200 kilometers, you can just charge up at the next charger. And that's all you need to do.
Towing your caravan, Harold?
Yes. Yes. I'm still waiting for 2 very heavy batteries, Steve. I did get a tracking note, and the sea container has landed. It's cleared customs and it's awaiting collection. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And that will actually dovetail nicely into the fact that at the end of October, TOCA will, just as a reminder, TOCA will be undertaking what we are going to claim, well, I'm going to claim now, and we, as in the club, may claim later, is probably going to be, in cumulative car kilometers, the longest single group road trip ever undertaken by EVs, because there will be quite a number of EVs, some of them towing things and others not, driving from Perth to Hobart in Tasmania. Not quite in a convoy, but certainly driving across to attend the 2024 November EVA National Conference in Hobart. So TOCA will be having a casual meetup on the, Steve, it's the Thursday, isn't it? I think it's the 31st of October, something like that, because I think the EVA conference is from the 1st to the 3rd or the 2nd to the 3rd of something like that in November.
The conference, I think, is 1 day, and then you've got 2 days for the expo.
Yes, and we'll be having our casual meetup in Hobart the day before in celebration. And like I said, some of us will be towing things, going the long way, and others will be just taking the car. And I don't know, I'm not sure how many cars are going to be involved, but it could easily be 10 or more. And when you multiply that by the distances traveled in that amount of time, that ought to be a world record. At least we're going to claim it.
I was going to say, oh, sorry.
Yes.
Well, just a reminder, everyone would share as the vote, like Elon's package through and the Texas thing. That's very important.
Yes, so vote early and vote often. No, you can't actually vote often.
Yep. I wish I could vote often. That'd be brilliant.
Actually, before we get to that, Martin, you've got your hand up. Sorry about that. And then we'll get back to Paul, because it is a very important point.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Martin. Sorry about that.
I've got a question about membership, Harold. 2 of my neighbours are absolute, the 6 and 8 year olds, absolute Tesla maniacs. Can they drive? Okay, or can they join the club?
Yeah.
I can tell you now we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got at least 3 committee members. I am absolutely confident that the committee would be more than pleased for junior members, literally juniors, to be members of our club for free. So the short answer is yes, Martin. Just give us a couple of days to sort it out. But yeah, absolutely. And there's no reason why a child should have to pay to join our club if they wish to. That's an awesome thing for them to want to do.
Oh, they're absolute maniacs. They've been around the showroom. Their dad hires a car for them every year, Tesla once a year for their birthdays. You know, it'd just be nice to do something for them.
You know, if their dad really loved them, he'd just go and buy a Tesla, bite the bullet, buy a Tesla.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they got much money, Harold.
Oh, you can get a Model 3 these days for 35 grand
cheap.
or less. Yep.
I'll tell.
Yes, you can. Yeah, and that's no joke, Martin. You actually can, because a lot of people have literally just on impulse bought the Highlands and go, well, you know, I'm just going to sell my Model 3 and it's going to cost me money, but life is too short and it's worth it. So
I've done that.
Indeed. So you can actually snap up, and bearing in mind, if anyone has if anyone's employed by an employer, and I'm not saying this is personal advice or financial advice, by all means talk to your accountant, but it is basically a fact that the federal government has brought in a fringe benefits tax 0 rating. It's not really an exemption, it's a 0 rating of fringe benefits, which then makes a novated lease a very attractive proposition, particularly if you're on a slightly higher tax threshold. So that can become very compelling. And you can also, if you own your own business, this is totally legit. Again, not financial advice, check with your accountant, but the business can provide a car to you as the owner or any employee at 0 cost to that employee. What happens is basically the employee, the business would ordinarily have to pay a fringe benefits tax at 48 cents in the dollar for the benefit. The federal government has said, providing the EV costs less than the EV tax, luxury tax, car tax threshold, and that's about $89,000, the dutiable value, it's 0 rated for fringe benefits tax. And that means the company doesn't have to pay that 48 cents in the dollar. You can salary sacrifice the other payments, and it means if you're in a high tax bracket, you basically get the car for nearly half the cost that you otherwise would because of the tax effect. It's a very attractive thing. And it really is a big stimulus to EVs. But check with your accountant. Now, Pete's given me a little bit of homework to do. We'll see how we're going with time. How long does that video go for, Pete?
It should be more than about 6-7 minutes.
5-6 minutes. Yeah, okay. Actually, can you please put that in the chat, just a link to it? Because then I can basically spoil it up in the chat. And I hope it works. If not, what I'll do is I'll just play it through my microphone. Because like I said, basically Zoom is broken at the moment. But yeah, it's basically a message by Robin Denholm, who is Tesla's chair.
Yeah, that goes for a little while.
Does go for a little while. We'll mainly get to the first point.
You can play it on
you
can play it on 1.25 or 1.5 times speed
that's
on
cool.
X.
Yeah. Can you please send the link, someone?
I'm doing that as we speak.
Yeah, cool. No worries. I'm just not at all confident that's going to come out. So let me know if the audio, if you can hear here we go. Let me know if you can hear the
Maybe
audio.
175.
Tesla board of directors.
Can you hear that?
On June 13th,
Yep.
we will hold.
Yep.
Okay. I'll try and do a screen share slowly.
Yeah, it's important.
Sorry, that was the wrong button, and I really mean that sincerely. I didn't mean to press that. This is the screen share button. Come on, screen share. Good job. Okay, we'll do it manually. Here we go. Oh, share.
Hold our annual meeting of stockholders. This year, we have two especially important proposals that we have put forward, and we need your vote. These proposals are absolutely critical to fuel Tesla's future growth and the value of your investment. The first proposal relates to a decision you collectively have already made. In 2018, stockholders overwhelmingly approved a CEO Performance Award that incentivized Elon to lead Tesla and hit ambitious financial and operational targets in 10 years. Back then, these targets seemed so far-fetched, so extraordinarily ambitious, that the skeptics called them laughingly impossible. If he failed, Elon was entitled to receive no salary, no cash bonuses, and no equity that would vest simply by the passage of time under the award. But if Elon was able to make it happen, you and all other stockholders would reap the benefits. The award worked. Elon cut the timeline in half and led Tesla to hit those jaw-dropping key targets. We grew revenues from $11.8 billion to $96.8 billion, turned around profitability from $2.2 billion loss to a $15 billion profit, increased the value of the company from $53.7 billion to more than $790 billion, and oversaw groundbreaking innovations in artificial intelligence and sustainable energy. His success is shared by all stockholders. You saw the value of your investments increase nearly 1,100%. Importantly, the award also aligns Elon's incentives with yours over the long term. Elon is required to hold any shares acquired through the award for 5 additional years after the option is exercised. At this time, none of those stock options have been exercised. The 5-year clock has not even started yet, which means Elon is incentivized to drive the same growth that we've seen over the past 5 years for many years to come. Earlier this year, in an unprecedented decision, a Delaware court ordered the cancellation of the 2018 CEO Performance Award, which our stockholders had already approved by a large margin. As a result, Elon has not received any compensation for the past 6 years of service to Tesla, despite the astonishing growth and value creation he has overseen. We don't believe one judge's opinion should void the will of millions of votes cast by all of the owners of the company, and that's you. So once again, we are asking you to make your voices heard by voting for the ratification of the 2018 Performance Award. The Tesla of today is utterly transformed from the Tesla it was in 2018, thanks in large part to Elon's leadership and vision. We are on the cusp of our next great growth wave. You have seen for yourself what 5 years under the leadership of an incentivized Elon can do to the value of your investment. Protect that same value creation potential for the future. The second proposal we are asking for your support on would incorporate Tesla into
and the second was just for Tesla, the recommendation to move its place of incorporation or state of incorporation from Delaware to Texas. And that's basically to try and avoid any future interesting court decisions in that state. But yeah, so as Paul said, if you have Tesla shares, please do, and you can vote, please do. Frustratingly, I've got my brokerage, which is not CommSec, unfortunately, but it's one of the other big four banks. My shares that I own in Tesla aren't actually owned by me. They're only owned on behalf of me in trust by an organization associated with the bank. And sadly, that means that those shares will be voted in accordance to probably one of those crappy fund advisors that will be voting against it. So if you can, please vote at before the meeting, because every vote counts.
You can transfer your shares to one of the brokerage companies that where you hold the shares in your own name, and then you can vote. You still got till the the meeting's on the 13th of June, I think. So you've still got a few weeks. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
you can do it.
It's just that it's it's a substantial holding, and you know, I just want to make sure that everything's legit. So anyway, look, I wasn't able to vote for the previous proposal, and I can put my hand on my heart, and I think, Pete, you were probably a shareholder at the time, and I think, Paul, you might have been a shareholder at the time of that original proposal. And I know I was talking to a mate of mine who is also a shareholder, and we both laughed and said, if there was any, in some parallel universe, if that could possibly happen and Elon could 10x our holding, then of course we'd be mad not to want him to get a mere 10% of the company. That's what it was going to be.
Yeah.
10x your shares, give up 10%. And I got to tell you,
because the market cap actually went up more, it actually ended up being about 7.5%. And to put that into perspective, you can go to a crowdfunding company and ask them to raise some capital for you. They'll charge you 6 or 7% just to put your prospectus up onto a website and you know, collect some money on your behalf. I mean, you know. You go to a real estate agent. Carmen, what's the average commission that real estate agents charge these days to sell your house in terms of a percentage?
2.2.
There you go. So 2.2% just to sell your house on average. I know there are agents that charge
not average. That's the minimum.
Yeah. So what would the average be?
Probably, depending on the price, under $1 million, 3, over $1 million, 2.5.
I know there are agents that charge 4.5%, just to sell your house. And here's a guy that's created.
Only if there's a small, only if it's a 500 or 600, and even then, most people wouldn't pay that. You can actually sell it yourself as an owner. Anybody can sell their own house.
That's what I do.
Yeah, well, even a chimpanzee can sell a house for 10% or 20% less than what it's worth. So I'm happy to pay a real estate agent 10% if they can sell it for 20% more than it's worth. It'd be stupid not to. So
some of them do have a sliding scale.
Yeah.
But let me tell you that at the moment, most properties in the western suburbs are sold under replacement value.
Oh yes.
By any agent, charging $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, and they won't do more than a month's work. And mine walked out because I wouldn't accept a low offer. So I'm doing it myself.
Yeah. So, but here's a guy that's created $900 billion or $800 billion, $700 billion worth of value. and he's asking for 7.5% of that. He's been sleeping in the factory. He's done it, for the last 6 years. And if he didn't achieve what at the time was seen as impossible, he would get exactly zero. So what real estate agent would work for zero, for 6 years trying to sell your house? Exactly.
In fact, what agent would offer to do up your house, renovate it, and make it worth 10 times its current value, and realize that money on the open market? That's the issue. And that's basically what Elon Musk has done. And even though it's tempting, we could, as selfish shareholders in the short term, say, well, if the deal gets cancelled, then Tesla will, we as shareholders will gain a tiny benefit. Well, perhaps we'll gain, maybe it's 10%. I'm not exactly certain. Probably not. But that's very short-sighted, because, like I said, put you in the shoes of yourself back in 2018, when those of us who had shares saw that deal and just saw how amazing the deal was. It was zero risk to the shareholders, zero risk. If it wasn't achieved, he got nothing. And if he 10-bagged it, he got 10%. I've got to tell you now, if there's a new share plan after this one gets hopefully approved and survives court challenges and all the rest, if there's another deal that if he 10x's it from here and he gets 10%, go for it. In fact, I'll offer him 20%.
Exactly.
I will give up 20% of my shares to Elon Musk if he can 10x the company from here. In a heartbeat.
Exactly. But the good point is, how is it fair for over 1 million of the company's shareholders for their vote, for their legally binding vote, to be overwritten by a single judge?
Yep, retrospectively. And that's after the deal was achieved, not straight away. It wasn't done 2 months or a year after the deal was initiated and before the thing was achieved. It's done retrospectively after what was achieved was proven. Or what was to be achieved was achieved. It's
only in America.
Less America.
However, what is happening with the value of the cars going down and the shares going down? It's not looking good.
Just
unfortunately.
One more quick thing. What you said, Harold, about potentially selfishly, getting 10% extra. 10% is nothing. That's 1 day's worth of movement in the share price. We saw the stock jump, 13 or 14% a day after the last earnings call.
15%.
I know. 15%. I was going to buy shares. They always go down after an earnings call. And then they went up.
15% in 1 day. So Tesla share price can move. We saw it move. How much did it move a couple of years ago? Within, I think, about 7 or 8-fold in 12 months. So 700, 800, 900% in 12 months. So to give up 10, to try and be penny wise and pound stupid for 10% and potentially give up 700-800% makes zero sense.
So, Carmen, you're saying that the share price is a little bit down, and particularly the second-hand car values have come down because Tesla has always done this. They've, on average, usually created deflation in the EV car prices, because whenever they get an efficiency gain or a process gain, which is also efficiency, they will pass on those savings to purchasers. I know in your case, Carmen, you've had your car for a few years now. I think your car, like within a week or so of you buying it, it went down in price. My son bought a Tesla, a Highlander, a couple of weeks ago, and 2 days later, the price was reduced by $3,500, which is great news for people that have still ordered the car and haven't received it yet, provided you haven't collected your car, regardless of what your order price was, Tesla will give you the new low price. If the price goes up, they'll keep your old price. So it's almost like the customer always wins guarantee. So you'll never pay more than they agreed, but you may pay less when the car is delivered.
Mine went down 10,000 though.
Yes, yep. And look, I can tell you a story.
So did mine.
The Performance Model X was offered for a very reasonable $300,000. I didn't buy one. I just bought the very reasonably priced $200,000. My God, standard range model. Standard Model Y, non-performance. The Performance Model Y for Model X, sorry, for $300,000. I think less than a year later came down in price by $80,000. So that's almost like a third off. So Tesla structurally is intent on reducing prices on average overall, or on the other hand, increasing features. So that's not great. But your comment about the share price, yes, it's down. I think it's roughly now hovering at about $180.
177.81.
Yeah, that's right. Its short-term low was about $140.
Yeah.
And I think, I forget who the gentleman is. It's the old gentleman who he's a billionaire. He's got quite a few Tesla shares. No. He's got no Tesla shares yet.
Ron Barron.
Ron Barron basically said he's called $140 the current minimum, the low for Tesla, according to him. Because according to him, autonomy is on the cusp of being virtually solved. And of course, we haven't even got to speed with things like, well, for example, there is $650 million some of that might include installation, I'm not sure. That's going to the big battery for Neoen, and they are all Tesla Megapacks. So there are 384, I think it was. No, 516, sorry. 516 Megapacks going to Poly, and they're all Teslas. And they haven't been produced yet. And in fact, the factory that's going to build them hasn't been finished yet in Shanghai. So the energy business is set to grow fast, much faster than the automotive business. And something none of us have ever factored in is what's going to happen to Optimus. And what I recommend everyone does is, I don't know if Tony Seba has brought out a new book yet, but he's certainly made a detailed statement about his projections for autonomous robots, humanoid robots. They, as a class of product, will wreak more disruption to the economy than has ever been seen today. It will render many parts of the it'll render labor costs approaching zero, which is going to be very interesting.
We'll have to have a universal basic income. There's just no way around it.
Absolutely.
That's how it will be. Yeah.
And basically, Tesla is indisputably the best placed company today to take the biggest advantage of that new economy. Apple at the turn of the century was struggling with sales of PCs and some iPods. I think they had iPods out then. The creation of the iPhone, which could only happen because of a confluence of converging technologies that made miniaturization, screens, touch screens, integration, all that sort of stuff, systems on chips. That was then made possible for Apple to create the iPhone, which was a new product altogether. And that has transformed Apple as a company. And in fact, actually, it's not the iPhone that did it. It's the software that's on the iPhones and the apps in the App Store for which Apple earns software levels of profit. You know, it costs them nothing to send a $10 app to a user, but they get 30% for doing very little. And as will Tesla. So Tesla will bring out autonomous robots, Optimus robots, and you will probably pay a subscription for it to possess certain specialized skills over and above its general skills. That sort of thing will become soft. Imagine if Tesla had a cut of everyone's income. Now, that's not everyone's personal income, it's everyone's robot's income. And, you know, as long as we live for more than the next 10 years, many of us end up owning an Optimus of some sort and loving it.
Pete will need him for his fleet of cars or something. So.
Yeah, that's right.
They'll be cleaning the cars as the cars are going in and out.
Yes.
Sorry.
I could cleaner or two.
Yeah. So that's going to transform, and Optimus is not even on the horizon. And most of the analysts, none of the Wall Street analysts even know what kind of price to point towards that direction. It's just unfathomable.
Well, X is certainly paying off, isn't it? I mean, now they want to charge for everything.
X, I think, was a masterstroke, because what Elon Musk actually got out of X was
the data,
terabytes of data and fresh data, and that's for his language models to improve Grok. But it's not just that, because people don't just post up text on X. They post up links to websites, they post up documents, they post up scans, images, videos, you know, and
soon conferencing, Harold. We should do our conferences on X when if that's better than Zoom.
Well, as we speak today, Pete, it couldn't be any worse than Zoom, because the new version's really crappy, but it'll be a lot better next week. But this is what's happening.
But isn't there a charge to do that?
Yes, there is. Well, actually, Zoom has a charge too. So the club actually pays for a whatever it's called, an enterprise Zoom account, so that we have proper recording and unlimited time and unlimited participants and all that sort of stuff. Okay. So no, we do pay for that, absolutely, and it's worth it, because you need to do that to be professional. But
we had about 40 people log in at one time earlier today, so quite a big turnout.
Yeah, and normally I think Zoom would cut out after half an hour or an hour, or it just depends, and you just can't rely on it. So we just got an enterprise Zoom account. So if X does have the same features, then we'll certainly do that. We now do put our episodes out on X, so people can see it on X or on YouTube, obviously. And that's no news to the people who are currently watching us on X and YouTube. And thanks for doing so. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe and hit the notification button.
Good boy.
And follow us on Patreon. No, just join. But all of us here probably are members, and you know, we don't need the money, but it's great to have the support. And you know, we're all volunteers, and we try to work very hard.
We need to remind Elon to support the shareholders.
Yes, well, he can support them best by putting in all his efforts, and if he gets the level of voting control that he wants, and he's explained why he needs that, why he thinks that's important, and that's literally so that you don't get this weird agglomeration of shareholders banding together and saying, no, we're not interested in the big picture. We just want to make fast money now, because any CEO can turn a company into can improve their return. Earnings per share. And the way you do it, which is what the big motor companies have done, is you load the company up with debt, buy back shares with debt, which saddles the company with future debt repayments. Magically, if you can reduce your share count by 10 or down to a 10th, you will make 10 times your earnings per share. It's just one of those stupid metrics. And if your compensation plan said you increase your EPS by 50%, will give you another cool $50 million, well, if you're self-interested, why wouldn't you do it? So
And
Elon doesn't want.
what's incredible about what Elon Musk has done under his latest performance award, he's basically retired pretty much all the debt in the company. So he's done the exact opposite and still managed to get the market cap to go up tenfold.
And in fact, I think, Pete, I'm not an analyst, but I believe some analysts would actually look at a company with zero debt and go, "What's wrong with you? You're not actually performing properly," and they'll actually discount you and say, "Well, you're not a properly functioning company because you don't have a lot of leveraged assets." And they would, in their opinion, think that was a bad thing.
But they don't need to. They've got enough. They're throwing off enough cash. They don't need any external funding.
Exactly.
Debt or
absolutely. So the key is to keep Elon at Tesla, keep him engaged. The next step is for him to bring. I believe that he would bring. It's not called OpenAI. What's XAI.
You mean XAI?
XAI into Tesla, and he'll go full bore on the Optimus robot, and Tesla will, and this is not a prediction, but I believe that Tesla, it's very plausible that Tesla will uniformly be the world's highest market cap company, easily.
So what I think, I don't think now is the time for Elon to be looking after shareholders. I don't think that's narrative. Mind you, he continues to do that because he's the biggest shareholder, so he's looking after himself as well. But now is the time for shareholders to look after Elon Musk. So that's.
Oh, we need a little bit of reciprocity. Come on, we can't.
No, a contract is a contract. We signed a contract with Elon, and he fulfilled it. So it's like saying someone like the government comes and takes 6 years of your pay for nothing, and after all the hard work that you've done. That's ridiculous. I don't know why we're even discussing this sort of stuff. Not in here, but it was just like, when that judge voted that, I just lost it because it was just going, that's so much overreach. That's not something that's from a free country. That does not make any sense. Logical sense. Like
and just,
the guy that
just
has just 9 shares. Well, it wasn't him, it's the lawyers. Sorry.
And just to be clear, I don't know what Tesla's market cap is today, but at the time this deal was first crafted, that Tesla's market cap was $60 billion US. And basically
it was 50 something. It was less than 60 billion. It was like 57.
Well, if you want to get technical, it was 59 or something.
59, it was 59 something. So it was, they roughly rounded it to 60, and each tranche involved the market cap going up another $60 billion. And there were 10 or 11 of those. And even today, with Tesla's share price somewhat suppressed from its highs, it is still a 10-bagger plus from the original deal. So again, like I said before, most of us who had shares at the time thought that was an impossible dream and that all our lives would be different and it would be a life-changing thing to 10-bag from where it was. And for Elon Musk to get a mere 10% of the company for giving us that wealth was the bargain of the century. And, all that has to happen is for that to be reinstated because it was already pre-agreed, pre-done. What I'm looking forward to next is hopefully another share plan. And I hope it's outlandish. I hope it's a 5-bagger, which when you're worth $500 billion, $500 billion, a 5-bag from here is a lot of money. We're talking $2.5–3 trillion.
A 5-bagger would make it the biggest company in the world by market cap.
Amazon's just a book company,
That's something that Elon Musk said that was amazingly interesting. I don't know if that was at the shareholder.
It was
at the earnings call. But he said something that's very interesting is all these cars, whether they're robo-taxis or cars that people own, such as our cars, actually being utilized very, very rarely, like maybe an hour and a half a day. And the other 22.5 hours are sitting idle. Now, Tesla could simply offer to reimburse, to pay you a profit for the clock cycles and service that your hardware, your full self-driving hardware executes while the car is asleep. And that is a distributed computing system, a bit like Amazon Web Services, which is, by the way, Amazon's most profitable business arm, not even the shop part and the book part. It's the actual web services. And the reason why they had that capacity was they knew that there were certain times like Black Friday and whatever, Mother's Day, Christmas, Easter, whatever, where they had to boost up their servers, otherwise they would crash their computing power. But for the rest of the year, they were never used. So they decided to actually make use of that compute and offer it for rent to anyone that would want it. And now that's become Amazon's most profitable business division. What Tesla can do...
It was already paid for. It had to be paid for.
Exactly.
In order to prevent this company, the website, from crashing.
It's literally money for jam. Exactly.
So the hardware in all our cars has already been paid for. It's just sitting there doing nothing 95% of the time. So yeah, he's talking. I don't know if he's actually ever mentioned monetizing it or paying owners anything for it. Not during the earnings call anyway, but he did mention obviously being able to tap into it and use it, because every car's got a SIM card and every car's got a huge amount of compute just sitting there.
Well, he would naturally have to, because it would be consuming probably about 4 or 5 or 6 or possibly even 10 kilowatt hours of energy per day, and that has a cost. So
and it reduces your range and etc.
Exactly. But so Tesla would absolutely have a profit sharing arrangement with people who opted in. And of course, you'd be mad not to, because it's money for nothing, and it won't wear out your car, and you'll get, look, even if you got an extra $10 of income a day, that's $3,600 for nothing, you know, after you say,
I don't think it'd be that much.
well, you don't know. We've got no way of knowing. I don't know. And even if it's $5, it doesn't matter. But the point is, if you make $5 a day and Tesla makes $5 a day, and if they can make $5 a day on 10 million cars, that's $50 million a day for no real, and there's no expense involved with that, you know, and that's another income stream. So that was something interesting that came out as a snippet, just explaining the innovation that comes about, that you can make money from businesses that you never expected existed.
By the way, that's $18 billion a year. $50 million a day is $18 billion a year.
And if you take that to a PE of 10, which is ridiculously low, that's $180 billion of market cap.
That's what is that? That's a third of Tesla's current market cap.
Yeah, exactly. And that's for something that's incidental and opportunistic. And that's only on 10 million cars.
That's probably twice the market cap of Uber.
Exactly.
Oh, actually, no, it's probably about the market cap of Uber at the moment. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, unfortunately, Steve, I didn't turn my timer on until almost the end of the news, so I think I've got to wait for 5 minutes, and we're at 1 hour 42. So what I should do is, before we sort of think about winding down, and I should have done this a long time ago, is anyone in the room that's got any questions or comments, particularly any questions if you're a new Tesla owner and you've just got some odd question that you want answered? Please feel free to ask away.
Craig, did you have any more questions for us?
Yeah, I actually asked it in the chat, and I think I've got a response, but it's a real minor thing. But when you put a bag of something that weighs more than 10 kilograms in the back seat and the seatbelt alarm goes off, and I've been pressing the buttons and nothing happens, other than fastening the seatbelt, when you got the dog in the back seat, what do you? Is there a way around it? On just
no, that's exactly what you do. And you can, if you want. Look, if you've got a dog, I'm not even going to go down the road of the, was the dog strapped in? But anyway, like if you're fitting a harness, okay, let's imagine that you had a harness for your dog. You would then just flip the seatbelt that the dog was sitting on into the receptacle, and then, with the harness, whatever. You can buy on Tesseries or Teslarati, Tesseries or Teslas, TESLOZ, or Tessories.com, I think it is. Just Google it. You can actually get like a blank seatbelt latch. Doesn't have the strap. It's just a blank latch that you can then put into the seatbelt.
It doesn't even have the plastic part. It's literally just the steel part.
Metal. Yeah.
Ask any taxi driver in Thailand where you get them from.
Now, but please make sure you remember if someone is sitting in the seat to take it out, because obviously it's important for the car to know if a passenger is in the seat. That is an important thing. But that is critically important. But you can either just clip the belt in or get one of these dummy clips. The other thing you can do too is if you can spread the weight out. I know that sounds easier said than done, but say if you're carrying a couple of boxes and you had one on top of the other, that would push harder on the seat. If you actually spread it out, it's less likely to trigger. And but it's unfortunately it's almost like a mandatory safety feature that the car wants to know if there's a passenger sitting there, and will warn you that they're sitting there and they're not belted in. So.
No worries, thank you.
Harold, Tim's got his hand up as well.
Yes, Tim. Sorry, yes. Go, Tim.
Hello. Yeah, I had a question. Just had anyone heard about this thing about potentially paying to unlock more range on Model Ys? And
does not apply to Australia. So what it was for the Model Ys built in, I think it's Texas. Quite a number of them had a stated range, and that's what it would show, and the capacity was such that was the range, and it was consistent with the previous version of Model Y, or the same Model Ys produced 6 months ago. Then what I think it was Elon Musk or Tesla announced was, oh, by the way, we've been shipping out these cars with extra capacity, whether that's extra cells, probably not, but maybe they've altered the chemistry and gotten more capacity. And they've basically suppressed it to keep it to the same as before. And now what they're doing as a deal is they're saying, well, if you actually want the extra 60 miles, I think it is, of range, so that's approximately 100 kilometers, which is actually quite substantial. You can pay us $2,000 US. So
yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
$3,500 Australian to unlock that capacity. Now, one thing that's actually good is you don't really have to unlock it because of the chemistry of the battery. What Tesla does, because I've actually bought a Model S that was software locked. It was a 75 kilowatt hour pack, and it was software locked to 60. What it meant was 60 kilowatt hours. What it meant was you could charge that car to 100% all the time, even though you ordinarily wouldn't, because they took off the top part of the buffer. So they wouldn't fill up the battery as much as it could be filled up with too. So anyway, it's a great deal in America, but there's no evidence whatsoever that applies to the Shanghai-built Model Ys coming out now that probably have different cells and slightly different chemistry. So Tim, it's an America-only thing at this stage.
And look, as you say, particularly in WA, it's that the top end of our range isn't that big a deal anymore once they finish this thingy. So yeah, not too worried.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just curious. Yeah. Cheers.
No,
thanks.
Yeah, no worries. And look, just to underline what you sort of said, and we've said it before, it's a critical point when there are fast DC charges every 200 kilometers, then literally, as long as your car has got a range in excess of that with a slight buffer, then it just doesn't matter anymore. Because the charging speed, in fact, if you're on a very long road trip, your transit time makes no difference no matter how big the battery is, because the only bit of extra benefit you get is the very first leg before you have to recharge the first time. Once you start rinsing and repeating on a long trip, the capacity is irrelevant. So what really counts is the charging speed and the interval. And that is now being solved through the WLEV network. And that's what counts. So, you know, again, if you see the new Highland at a fantastic priced standard range, the Model Y slightly refreshed standard range, I would put my hand on my heart and say I would now buy that standard range all day, every day, because of the compelling value that it is. And that's not to say that the long range isn't any good or it's expensive. The long range cars have dual motors. So you've got 4-wheel drive. That's a great thing in certain circumstances. Still great value, but you can't beat the standard range 3s and Ys for intrinsic value for money.
There are cases where the long range is absolutely the best option. So for those that live 200-300 kilometers out of Perth and they just absolutely need that additional range. And if you want that extra acceleration, and with the long range, you can pay a couple of grand extra and get that half a second speed boost as well, which sort of puts you between the long range and the performance category, you know, and the 4-wheel drive or the all-wheel drive. So yeah, there are cases where the long range makes sense, but exactly as Harold said, you know, in the vast majority of cases, actually, if you take the rear-wheel drive and charge that to 100%, you'll get more range than charging the long range to 80%. So,
absolutely. Now we'll quickly go to Saxon, you've got your hand up patiently there before we close out this show.
Yeah, mine's just a quick one. I was just wondering on what people thought of the Matrix headlight feature getting enabled, because I was blown away, not really expecting it, and just realizing what was going on and how it doesn't shine at the car in front of you and it provides this nice arc around the other vehicles. Yeah, I was absolutely blown away by that.
Adaptive,
quite happy with it.
You've got to enable it in the new version under the lights menu. But yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I've used it for 3 nights now. What I didn't expect it to do is it's not perfect. So there are still rooms for improvement. A, it could be faster, and 2, it could discern between cars that are parked and stationary and those that are moving. But yeah, at the moment, it will detect a car that's parked, and you can see it all lit up everywhere, except where you can see the reflections of the light of the car that's parked on the side. And then as you go around the turn, you can see it moving, and it's a little bit slow to react. But so there is still room for improvement, but it is very impressive. It is.
And for me, it also blanked for pedestrians.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, Steve, because for me it did not. And I'm sad to say that there were 2 pedestrians on the left-hand side walking towards the car, and one distinctly went like this, and I was blinding him. So I regretted that, and it's something that we've got to follow. But I'm going to get into the habit of, if I see pedestrians coming towards me and it looks at all like it's not blinking them out, which it might not do all the time, just turn your high beam off and you can turn it back on.
Yeah, these pedestrians for me were on the left-hand side and they were facing across the road. So perhaps it detected that they were going to be in the main arc or something.
Yeah, right. But it's an awesome feature. Yeah, thanks, Tesla. This is literally an example of. Yeah, Pete, are all the Model 3s do all the Model 3s have Matrix lights?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Early version.
Okay. So So if your car is less than 2 years old,
I know it's so my 21 model has matrix headlights.
so if it's less than 3 years old, your car has literally gotten a very clever feature for nothing.
Yep.
And it's been long awaited. It's a cracker feature.
It might have saved the sentence somehow, sentenced somebody from spinning a cow around 180 degrees.
And costing dozens of thousands of dollars, indeed. In fact, I know for certain that event would not have occurred had the adaptive headlights been in play. Now, on that cheery note, it's probably time to wrap up this show. And it's been a bit of a fraught show at the start, but we got there in the end. And hopefully next week will be better. So, Pete, how would you round out an awesome show such as this, as if I didn't know?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
Amen, brother. And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join Tokwa, and ask us anything about using adaptive high beams and accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Have an awesome week, everyone. Really look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
No.